Hey, good morning, everybody. Let's see who's here today. Miss Melanie. Hey, CG. How you doing? All right, hanging in. I'm thinking of you. You came in my mind yesterday. We'll chat afterwards if you'd like to take a moment. Everybody feeling good? Seeing everybody? Anybody brand new? Nobody's brand new, right? Okay, good. So we can align. Sacral Chakra Month is in deep full swing, and I was away for the first week of it. And when you think that something's going to be a certain way, and then it doesn't turn out that way, it's like, oh, I thought I was going to go away for a week to Arkansas to visit my teacher and be in a space where I could, restore and replenish. And it turns out that that wasn't exactly what I got, which is most of the time what life is anyway. So like managing our disappointments is kind of a part of the spiritual work, and really being able to get through disappointment without getting kind of caught in the quagmire of all of the feelings of like blame or resentment or anger and all of the other toxic fuel that kind of like happens with that. And it's deep work to be able to reflect on your heavier, more intense emotions, and not just shut down or go into your typical patterns of response towards them. So in the careful reflection of myself these past 15 years of being on the path, I had probably about 10 people tell me that I should go to yoga, and I know everybody has heard this about me before, that I was, kind of pushed into a yoga practice by others because they were like, maybe to deal with your stress, maybe your anger is an issue. And it's like, what do you mean my anger's an issue? It's like, you have a problem. Maybe, oh, you're telling me that I have a problem? It's like, I think you have a problem. And so, maybe like when that was where I was at. I was 24 years old. I really, at 24, what the hell do you know? You know what you do at 24 years old, which is a whole lot of nothing. It's like you think you know what you're talking about. It's kind of like dealing with a teenager. Every teenager, we've all been through that. We think we know what we want, who we are, how we stand. Nobody understands us. Nobody hears us. Nobody sees me. It's like, so then, we kind of push in the opposite direction. Certain personality types will kind of implode and go into a place of being invisible, and then others will explode and kind of like, no, you're going to hear me and you're going to like it. So I went in the opposite direction for a while, and now, doing all of this work, I found through the practice of Dharma yoga, and Dharma Mitra is, in his late 70s, 78 he just turned. And when I first met him and started practicing with him, he, within the first class, said, you have to channel your anger in this practice. You need angry determination in order to change. It was the first time that I had heard that anger was appropriate for a spiritual practice. And it was like a giant wash of relief. I had been trying to negate and eradicate my anger for so long because I thought it was wrong and bad. And, well, that's why people told me to come here, is because I have an anger issue, and that's mine, and that's my fault. And if you have this tendency towards, like, looking at situations in your life and saying, why did this happen to me? What did I do? What did I do to deserve this? What did I do to create this? It's good to reflect and to want to take responsibility for things, but at some point, it's not you, right? At some point, your anger might actually be incredibly justified because of the situation that was being presented. And it's like, now what are you going to do with that anger? What I found, really appropriate was that when I first came home, I had so much anger up inside of my body that I didn't feel like I had a safe outlet for it. And this month is a witnessing of your emotions. The sacral chakra is this deep pool of your emotions and this energy. So I had been doing all this careful work for all of these years to think that like my anger was under control and I was channeling it in a healthy way into my practice. And great, I used my angry determination to like get through and overcome, and awesome. Now it was like, well, my anger it's not desirable, at all. It's like I was being told very clearly that my anger was too much and it really needed to be, handled somewhere else. I came home and I went to the ocean. The only place that I know that I can go and be completely uninhibited with my rage. And, it was like first thing in the morning on Mother's Day, and it was quiet and there's nobody there. And I was in Montauk and it was kind of misty. And then there was like these little patches of clear that I could, go down there. So I was walking like a crazy person, like back and forth, like, just shaking my fist at the sky and feeling my rage and how entitled to it I was. And then I feel the ocean kind of laughing. Aw, that's so cute. Your anger is adorable. Look at how tiny it is. Do you want to feel my anger for like 5 seconds? The ocean was like, hey, do you want to feel some collective rage? Think about how defiled I am every day. Think about how unconscious people are with me every day. Every piece of plastic, every garbage, everything. The world is a constant source of being defiled and taken advantage of. And who's her champion? Who's coming to her aid? She has 1,000 reasons to be justifiably raging and wipe out all human civilization, which she could. It's kind of happening in certain ways. It's like certain hurricanes and other, weather patterns are shifting. Nature's pissed. So when we see it, it's like, well, okay, sometimes this destruction, this energy needs to be expressed and kind of take down other, these unhealthy situations and circumstances. So anger isn't always inappropriate. In fact, anger is like a really loud calling to action sometimes of like, oh, you're sick and tired of that now, huh? Finally got pissed enough to do something about it? Great. Use your anger as fire to do something different. And that's the angry determination that we can kind of like channel. So I cried, and then I wiped my tears like a big girl, and then said, okay, I'm ready to get back to some work. I want to take this anger and not dismantle it, but use it. How can I use, this rage that I have inside of me and not drown in it, but use it as a force for transformation in the world? So what big emotion are you kind of struggling with? Maybe your entire life that you've had, oh, here it is again. I'm going to get overwhelmed by X. Oh, no, it's showing up again. I see this in my relationship pattern. Oh, no, here's this feeling that I have tried so carefully to avoid for so long. And maybe you were successful at avoiding it for a really long time. Maybe you had really great defense mechanisms and they were tight, like watertight. Can't get in there. Nope. And then the feelings are going to come. You can avoid it for as long as you like. I mean, some people repress energies and information and insight, block it for many, many years, and then if you're on the path and you're interested in doing the work, then you are going to see it. And then what do we do about it? So feeling versus numbness. This is another aspect of the work this month. Notice your tendency to avoid the intensity of what you're feeling by numbing out in some other way. So it's like overworking, over drinking, over shopping, having a lot of sex, eating too much, talking too much, just pick your too much. It's like we all have, these vices and things that we may do to kind of avoid or take the sting out of what it is that we're experiencing. And it doesn't mean that you have to give up all of your vices like tomorrow. We all have these coping mechanisms. They're here for us to kind of make life a little less raw and intense sometimes. So it's okay to give yourself a cookie. Don't eat the bag, right? It's like it's okay to have a drink. Don't have 10. There's sometimes we do these things and then it's a cover-up for really unconscious, crappy behavior, especially drinking. I have seen it happen so many times where you can't be emotionally expressive unless you've had a couple of drinks, and then it goes very quickly to becoming emotionally volatile and then projective and then destructive. So it's like what started as like have a drink, loosen your inhibition, make yourself a little more receptive to the comfortable, okay, I'm going to have this uncomfortable conversation, I need a little lubrication. Okay, but don't have 4 and then say things that you really don't mean or express them in a way that actually winds up creating damage for this person. Don't make your process of expressing painful and damaging to somebody else. It's like take responsibility for how you express. And this is another aspect of what we need to do this month. It's not uncommon to do it unskillfully. What we then need to do is then take that space. Okay, I went down to the ocean. I raged by myself. I kind of, wiped my tears. Was like, yeah, my anger's cute and adorable and tiny. And I know I have it, and so does everybody else. Great. Let's carry on, see what we can do with this. And then I show up in a way that I try to do my best to be responsible for my behavior and how it affects other people. Some days you need to be by yourself. If you feel that your energy is going to be, explosive, own it. All right, maybe I do need to kind of retreat a little bit and not talk it out. Write an angry letter and then burn it instead of texting it furiously and then sending it. It's like, maybe not, it's like, maybe don't have that conversation right away. Maybe pause and reflect and kind of simmer and sit with what it is that you need to do. If anger is not your issue, but you have avoidance tactics, it's like fear. Nope, I want to talk about that. Going to be invisible. Let's just make ourselves busy. Workaholics. It's a type of holic, So make sure that you're giving yourself enough free time and space to kind of take the energy to do what it is that you have to do with it. Fear, judgment, criticism. There's a lot of it. And, also in sacral chakra, there's a lot of desire. So now desire and longing. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how long you've been married. It doesn't matter how long you've been single. It doesn't matter, no relationship is impervious to these like layers of evolution and transformation. And, if you're in a long-term relationship, things are going to be shifting. Probably one of the most insightful articles I had read at one point said, if you're in a long-term relationship more than 20 years, it's like, oh, how many incarnations have you already taken? How many different relationships have you already had? It's like your young selves. It's like then after 5 years, then after 10 years or 7 years, it's like the 7-year itch, right? You get that. And then there's like all this kind of, oh, how many times have you recreated yourself? How many times have you gone through that process? But if you're going through a process and your partner's not, then there's going to be a chasm. And at some point, then these uncomfortable conversations need to be had and things need to be expressed in another way. And because if you don't do it now, it's going to come back later. So, what do you want to do? It's like, take your vitamins, take your vaccines, make sure that you're not sticking your head in the sand because, grenades and those like buried bombs, they don't go away. You'll just step on them and trigger it, inadvertently 20 years later. And that's not something that you want to do either. So take the time to make yourself reflect on the emotions and the energies that you'd really just rather run away from. That's a really good indicator of the work that needs to be done. And in the physical practice, it's going to show up in like, sticky pain, stuff that we are like, ugh, we just have this aversion to it. It's like, I don't want to do that. That feels gross. I'm not feeling good in this posture right now. It might not even come up as a conscious thought. It might just come up as distraction. What happens? Where do you become the most unconscious in your practice? Is it in your transitions? Is it in forward folds when it's quiet? Is it in the active postures when you're feeling heat building? Is it in, is it core work that makes you want to throw up? It's like, what is it? There's something that's going to rub you the wrong way. And then on the other side of it, there's so much freedom to be had when you actually explore the parts of you that are unconscious, because then you welcome each piece in. Oh, I didn't know I was numb there. Look at that. I'm going to feel more there now. Oh, I didn't know that I hated this aspect of the practice, but there it is. That's kind of insightful. I'm going to bring that in. Take it with you and then reflect in your relationships, in your conversations, in your colleagues that drive you nuts. There might be someone, there's a particular type of energy that you just don't know their feelings. You could see if somebody else's feelings trigger the crap out of you. Chances are it's a mirror. It's like, oh, I hate the way this person handles themselves this way. It's so unconscious and it's so this. And if you're talking about their feelings and their emotional outburst and their reaction, it's like, listen, there might be something there for you. There's a really, Swami Satchidananda had a really cute point about that. Every time you point your finger at somebody else, you did this to me. There's 3 fingers pointing back at you. So what'd you do to invite it? What did you do in some way? What can you do to kind of invite this this space of recognition that I can take responsibility for it. So in our physical practices and for the rest of the month, we really want to get clear on what's our feeling and what someone else is feeling, and then how can we work with this energy together to not make anybody wrong or bad, or to just completely take this victim role or a perpetrator role, but to stand outside and say, these are the realities of this situation in this moment, and how can I do my work to witness where I'm unconscious, where I feel repulsed and triggered, where I can find the balance point, because then the freedom comes in. Then you allow yourself to actually think that there's another way to accomplish something different, to go into this next area of, okay, how do I want to feel? What have I been stuck in feeling? And what's the feeling that I've been like avoiding at all costs? And now, what do I want to feel instead? I want to feel supported. I want to feel embraced. I want to feel happy. I want to feel pleasure. I want to feel joy. I want to feel all this light energy that can come with it. So invoke it, invite it, welcome it. Your practice doesn't have to be this like crucible for pain all the time either. What feels good? Take a break. Take it easy. Fire up. If you've always told yourself that like, oh, well, I'm weak and that's just too hard. Maybe you're really strong and you've just been kind of keeping yourself small, or somebody else, kind of put that restraint on you for a long time. And, maybe you are sensitive and vulnerable, and it's time for you to get grounded in your badass warrior bitch. Maybe that's what you need a little bit. It's like, it's all okay. We can find these like aspects of our nature and make some space to feel the opposite. And there might be a lot of like pleasure and joy in that, in feeling something different. To leave room to surprise yourself too. I mean, that's the thing about emotions. They fluctuate. Don't get stuck avoiding any of them, because they're all change. Feelings are so ephemeral. It's like they come and go. It's like everything else here. It's all duality. High, low, good, bad. We're really, the equanimity of the practice is to see it stretching out before you, all of the duality, and then rest somewhere in between. And say, I'm grateful for the experience. Thanks for showing it to me. Next. I welcomed anger, and then it no longer controlled me. I welcome my grief, and I no longer drown in it. I welcome my disappointment, and I have a clearer set of boundaries moving forward. I welcome all of these insights, no matter how painful they are, because it's an aspect of my nature that needs to be addressed so I can grow and be of better service to humanity. Take your shit and turn it into fertilizer for something new. And that's the creative gift of sacral chakra. This is the primordial essence of all life rests right here. And we are all here because of an orgasm. It's like, that's another amazing aspect to think. It's like we all started this life because of this ultimately pure, unified, conscious experience of bliss. That is your true nature. That is our very conscious beginning. So if we're not having enough orgasms in life, and I don't just mean, the kind that we all like tend to think about when we're talking about it, it's like, what else is an orgasm of your energy? What else could feel like that expansive and like light-filled and like, yes, it's a yes. An orgasm is a yes. It's like, yes, put that energy out there. What else needs to be kind of expressed and put out there in a positive, life-affirming way? Let's not just repeat all of our crap. Let's actually fire up and like do something different about it. So in your physical practice, can we now take all of this and then try it on? Go play in the duality of it. Go into the ickies and then kind of feel the freedom and the bliss that can come with it when you do. And we'll find ourselves somewhere in between. So let's close our eyes and come inside and just notice at first, what are you feeling? Where are you feeling it? How do we feel about our bodies this morning? Do we notice any chronic conditions or flare-ups of pain? We're not in judgment of it. We just get to witness it. We root down through the seat, but lift up out of the waist. Really open up through and lift through the sternum. Softly unhinge the jaw. Feel an opening through the crown of the head. Rest your hands lightly, whether they're on the thighs, and if it's palm down, you want to feel that sense of grounded connection to your body, please do. If you want to be more open to receiving subtle information, let's turn the palms facing up. The tip of the thumb and the forefinger together, forming Jnana Mudra, the mudra of self-awareness. So you take in the sounds of the environment without letting anything disturb us. We just witness cars passing, fans whirring. It is possible to stay in the center without reacting. When we start to connect to our conscious breath, as we inhale, really flood the body all the way down to the pelvic floor. And gush it out. If you want to sound or sigh, honor it. If it's been a crappy week, let it go. Let's do it 2 more times. Last one. And then let your breath become deep, slow, and full, layering in your Ujjayi breathing. Ujjayi is an oceanic sound, constricting the back of the throat on the inhales and exhales. Same muscles that you use when you whisper or you're trying to fog up a mirror. And whatever we churn up, fuel for the fire. Your Agni is a digestive force, not just for your food, but information and emotions. We keep your Agni strong, you will integrate all kinds of information better. We set our collective intentions to bear witness to the totality of our emotional reality. In this moment, our reactivity and our ability to stay present, to witness where we are numb, and to also expand into some juicy, pleasurable sensations. Do not deny yourself of it. And we open the practice by chanting Om 3 times together. Inhale deeply for Om.